I watched my brother's face drain of color the second he walked into that interview room and saw me sitting behind the desk. He'd kicked me out of his New Year's dinner less than 12 hours earlier, called me a charity case in front of his friends, told me I wasn't good enough to sit at his table. Now he was here, in my office, begging for a job he didn't know I controlled. My name is Angelica, and this is the story of how my own family tried to erase me, and how I made sure they'd never forget my name again. Growing up, my brother Jordan and I weren't close, but we weren't enemies either. We were just different. He was the golden child, athletic, charming, the kind of guy who could walk into a room and own it. I was quiet, bookish, the one who spent Friday nights studying while he was out winning basketball games and collecting scholarships. Our parents loved us both, I think. But they celebrated him. When Jordan got into state, there was a party. Balloons, a cake, cousins driving in from Ohio. When I got my acceptance letter to the same school 2 years later, my mom smiled and said, "That's wonderful, sweetie," and went back to folding laundry. I told myself it didn't matter. I told myself I'd prove my worth my own way. By the time I was 25, I'd done exactly that. I'd worked 3 jobs to finish my business degree, spent 2 years in a brutal consulting firm learning everything I could, then took a risk on a startup in Denver that turned into the kind of opportunity people write articles about. I became the youngest VP of operations in the company's history. And when the CEO stepped down last spring, the board asked me to take over. I was 28 years old, running a company worth $42 million. I didn't tell my family right away. Partly because the news hadn't gone public yet, we were in the middle of a quiet restructuring, and my promotion was embargoed until the new quarter. But mostly because I'd learned a long time ago that my accomplishments didn't matter much at family dinners. Jordan's stories always got more airtime. If you've ever felt invisible in your own family, go ahead and drop a comment. Tell me where you're watching from. I promise you're not alone. The trouble started 3 weeks before New Year's. I was in back-to-back board meetings when my mom called, breathless with excitement. "Jordan's hosting New Year's dinner this year," she said. "At his new place in Boulder. It's gorgeous, Angelica. You should see the kitchen." "That's great," I said, scrolling through an email about Q4 projections. "What time should I come?" There was a pause. A long one. "Well," she said slowly, "it's a smaller thing this year. Just close family and his fiancé's people. You know how it is." I stopped scrolling. "Close family," I repeated. "You know what I mean. It's not that you're not invited, sweetie, it's just, Jordan's trying to impress Rachel's parents, Anne." She trailed off. I didn't make her finish. "Got it," I said. My voice was flat. Professional. The same voice I used when a supplier tried to renegotiate terms at the last second. "No problem. You understand, right? It's not personal." I told her I understood. I told her it was fine. I lied through my teeth because that's what you do when you're tired of fighting for a seat at a table that was never set for you. But I didn't understand. And it wasn't fine. I wasn't going to go. I swear I wasn't. But New Year's Eve came, and I was alone in my Denver apartment with a bottle of wine and too many thoughts. My friends were all out of town. My assistant had sent me a care package with chocolate and a note that said, "Don't work tonight, boss." That's an order. I sat on my couch in sweatpants, scrolling through Instagram, watching my own family celebrate without me. Jordan had posted a photo. The long table, the candles, the mountain view through his floor-to-ceiling windows. My parents were there. His fiancé's family. Cousins I'd grown up with. Everyone dressed up, laughing, holding champagne flutes. The caption read, "Starting the new year with the people who matter most." I stared at that line for a full minute. Then I got dressed. I didn't plan what I'd say. I just drove to Boulder, pulled up to his building, and walked into that party like I had every right to be there. Because I did. The moment I stepped into his apartment, the conversation stopped. Jordan was at the head of the table, mid-toast. He froze, glass in the air, staring at me like I'd just broken through the wall. "Angelica," he said. His voice was tight. Controlled. "What are you doing here?" "I'm here for dinner," I said. I tried to smile, but my face wouldn't cooperate. "I'm family, right?" I could see my mom's face across the room. She looked horrified. Not at Jordan. At me. For showing up. For making things awkward. Rachel, Jordan's fiancée, whispered something to her mother. I caught the edge of it, didn't know she was coming. Jordan set his glass down. He walked toward me, and I could see the anger tightening around his eyes. "We talked about this," he said quietly. "This dinner is for close family. I am close family. You know what I mean." "No," I said. My voice cracked, just a little. "I really don't." He exhaled through his nose, the way you do when you're trying not to lose your temper in front of guests. "Look," he said. "This isn't the time. You're making everyone uncomfortable." "I'm making people uncomfortable?" "Yes. You are." He stepped closer, lowering his voice so only I could hear. "You show up uninvited, dressed like you just rolled out of bed, and expect us to what? Make room? This is my house, Angelica. My dinner. And you're not welcome here." The room was silent. Every eye on me. I felt my chest tighten, my throat close. I wanted to scream. I wanted to cry. I wanted to ask him when exactly I'd stopped being his sister. Instead, I turned around and walked out. I sat in my car for 10 minutes, shaking. Not from cold. From rage. Then my phone buzzed. It was a group text. Family thread. I was still on it, though clearly no one remembered. Jordan, crisis averted. She's gone. Mom, thank God. I was so embarrassed. Rachel, why does she always do this? It's like she can't take a hint. Jordan, she's always been like this. Desperate for attention. Honestly, it's sad. I read it 3 times. Then I turned off my phone, drove home, and poured myself another glass of wine. And I started planning. The universe has a sense of humor. 2 days later, I was in my office reviewing a stack of final round candidate files for a senior analyst position we'd been trying to fill for months. My HR director, Priya, walked in with her tablet and a slightly sheepish look. "One more for you to review," she said. He applied late, but his resume's solid. Finance background, good references. Name's Jordan Bennett. I looked up slowly. Jordan Bennett. Yeah. Any relation? She grinned. Bennett's not exactly rare, but he's my brother. Her grin disappeared. Oh. Oh, wow. Do you want me to? I mean, should we? I stared at the file. At his name, printed in clean sans serif at the top of the page. Jordan had been job hunting for months. I knew that much from my mom's worried phone calls. He'd been laid off from his finance position in the fall, and the market was brutal. He'd been sending out applications everywhere, getting nowhere. And now he'd applied to my company. He had no idea I worked here. Why would he? I'd never mentioned the name. Never posted about it. I'd kept my career quiet, a private victory in a family that never celebrated me. Until now. If you're watching this and you believe in karma, hit that like button. Because what happened next was the definition of poetic justice. I didn't tell Priya to reject him. I didn't tell her to move him forward either. I just said, schedule him. I'll conduct the interview myself. She raised her eyebrows. Are you sure? Given the history? I'm sure. I didn't sleep much the night before. I kept imagining his face. The moment he'd realize. The moment he'd understand exactly how badly he'd miscalculated. I wore my favorite suit that morning. Navy blue, tailored, the one that made me look every inch the executive I was. I had my assistant print a fresh copy of his resume, and I sat in the interview room 10 minutes early, reviewing his application with the kind of clinical detachment I'd learned from years of high-stakes negotiations. Jordan Bennett. Bachelor's in Finance. 3 years at a mid-tier investment firm. Solid performance reviews. No red flags. On paper, he was hireable. But I wasn't thinking about paper. He walked in at 9 a.m. exactly. I was facing the window when the door opened, my back to him, pretending to review notes on my laptop. I heard his footsteps. Confident. Eager. The same way he used to walk into family dinners. Good morning, he said. I'm Jordan Bennett. I'm here for the senior analyst. I turned around. And I watched every ounce of color drain from his face. Hello, Jordan, I said. My voice was calm. Steady. The voice of someone who held all the cards and knew it. Please, have a seat. He didn't move. He just stood there, frozen, staring at me like I was a ghost. I didn't. He swallowed. Tried again. Angelica? That's Miss Bennett in this room, I said. I gestured to the chair across from me. Sit down. We have a lot to discuss. He sat. He looked like he might throw up. I let the silence stretch. Let him squirm. Let him realize, piece by piece, exactly what was happening. I've reviewed your application, I said finally. I tapped his resume with one finger. It's impressive. 3 years in finance. Strong references. You're clearly qualified. His voice cracked. He cleared his throat. I didn't know you worked here. No, I agreed. You didn't. Another silence. He stared at the table. I stared at him. I'm the CEO, I said. I let the words land. Let them sink in. I've been the CEO for 8 months. I run this company. Every hire, every firing, every decision that matters, it comes through me. He looked up, and for the first time, I saw something that wasn't arrogance in his eyes. It was fear. Angelica, Let me ask you something, Jordan. I leaned forward. Do you remember New Year's? His jaw tightened. Yes. Do you remember what you said to me? He didn't answer. You called me desperate. You told me I wasn't welcome. You made it very clear that I wasn't close enough family to sit at your table. I folded my hands on the desk. And now you're sitting at mine. He tried to recover. I'll give him that. He straightened in his chair, put on the same smooth smile he used to charm professors and coaches. Look, he said. I know we've had our differences. And I know I said some things I shouldn't have. But this is business, right? My qualifications speak for themselves. They do, I agreed. You're qualified. You'd probably do fine in this role. Hope flickered across his face. But here's the thing, I continued. We don't just hire people who are qualified. We hire people who fit our culture. People who respect others. People who understand that every person at this company, from the interns to the executives, has value. His smile faded. And based on what I know about you, I said, I'm not sure you understand that. Angelica, come on. Ms. Bennett. He flinched. I let the moment sit. Then I opened his file and clicked my pen. I'm going to ask you a few questions, I said. Standard interview protocol. And I'm going to evaluate your answers the same way I'd evaluate any candidate. Fairly. Objectively. Based on merit. He nodded slowly. First question, I said. Tell me about a time you made a mistake and how you handled it. I watched him struggle. Watched him try to craft an answer that sounded good, that made him look humble without actually admitting fault. He talked for 3 minutes. Gave me some generic story about missing a deadline and working overtime to fix it. It was fine. It was forgettable. Just like he was about to be. Halfway through the interview, my phone buzzed. A text from my mom. Mom, Jordan has an interview today. Big company in Denver. Pray for him. I stared at the screen. She didn't know. She had no idea. I looked up at Jordan. He was mid-sentence, explaining some minor accomplishment, and I realized something that made my stomach turn. He still didn't think he'd done anything wrong. He thought this was just awkward. Uncomfortable. A weird coincidence. He didn't understand that he'd spent years making me feel small. That he'd built his confidence on the foundation of my silence. That every family dinner, every holiday, every casual dismissal had carved something out of me. And he definitely didn't understand that I'd spent the last 5 years building myself into someone he couldn't ignore. Jordan, I said, cutting him off. Let me ask you something off script. He hesitated. Okay. Why do you think you'd be a good fit here? Well, No, I said. I don't want the rehearsed answer. I want the truth. Why do you think you belong at this company? He stared at me. And for a second, I saw the same look he'd had at his New Year's dinner. The look that said, "Why are you making this difficult?" I'm qualified, he said. I have the experience. I'm a hard worker. I don't see why I wouldn't be a good fit. Right, I said. I closed the folder. Here's the thing, Jordan. You're sitting in this room because you think you deserve to be here. And maybe you do. But you're also sitting here because I let you. His face went pale. See, I could have had HR reject your application the second I saw your name. I could have made sure you never got within a mile of this building. But I didn't. I brought you in. I gave you a chance. Because unlike you, I believe people deserve opportunities even when they've been less than kind. I stood up. He stood too, automatically. But here's what you need to understand, I said. You don't get to decide who matters. You don't get to decide who's worthy of respect. And you sure as hell don't get to treat people like they're beneath you and then expect them to hand you opportunities when it's convenient. He opened his mouth. Closed it. I'm not going to hire you, Jordan. Angelica. It's Ms. Bennett. And this interview is over. He tried to argue. Told me I was being unprofessional. That I was letting personal feelings cloud my judgment. That this was discrimination. I let him talk himself out. Then I said, very calmly, "You're welcome to file a complaint with our legal team. But I should let you know, every interview in this office is recorded for quality assurance. Including this one. So if you'd like to argue that I made this decision based on anything other than your demonstrated lack of respect and self-awareness, you're welcome to try." He left without another word. I sat alone in that room for 5 minutes after he was gone, hands shaking, heart racing. I'd done it. I'd stood my ground. I'd said no. I'd made him feel, for just a moment, what I'd felt every time he dismissed me. And it felt complicated. My mom called that night. She was crying. "How could you do that to him?" she said. "He's your brother, Angelica. He needed that job. He needed respect," I said. "And he didn't give it. You humiliated him. You know how hard he's been looking. And you just..." "He humiliated me first, Mom. At his own dinner. In front of everyone. And you watched." Silence. "This isn't the same," she said finally. "You're right," I said. "It's not. Because when I had the power to hurt him, I still gave him a chance. I interviewed him fairly. I asked him real questions. And he couldn't see past his own ego long enough to show me he'd changed. So you punished him." "No," I said. My voice cracked. I stopped pretending it didn't hurt. She didn't call back. If you've ever had to set a boundary with family and felt guilty about it, leave a comment. I see you. And I promise, you're not wrong for protecting yourself. 3 weeks passed. I threw myself into work. Board meetings, strategy sessions, late nights reviewing budgets. I told myself I was fine. But I wasn't. Then Jordan showed up at my office. Not for an interview. Just there. Sitting in the lobby when I came back from lunch. "I'm not here to beg," he said when he saw me. "I just want 5 minutes." I should have said no. Should have had security walk him out. But I didn't. We sat in a conference room, awkward and silent, until he finally spoke. "I didn't understand," he said. "What you've been doing. What you've built. I didn't. I didn't see you. I waited. I thought you were still the same quiet kid from high school. The one who didn't need attention because you didn't ask for it. But you did need it. You needed us to show up. And we didn't." My throat tightened. "I'm not asking you to hire me," he said. "I'm not asking for anything. I just needed you to know that I get it now. I was wrong. And I'm sorry. It wasn't enough. It didn't undo years of being overlooked. But it was something." "I don't forgive you yet," I said. "But I hear you." He nodded. And for the first time, he looked at me like I was someone worth seeing. Jordan found a job 2 months later. Not at my company. Not even in Denver. But he found something. We're not close. Maybe we never will be. But we're talking. Slowly. Carefully. Like two people who are learning to see each other for the first time. My parents still don't fully understand what happened. But they're trying. Mom invited me to Easter dinner last month, and when I walked in, there was a place set for me at the center of the table. She didn't make a big deal of it. Just smiled and said, "We saved you a seat." It's not perfect. It's not a movie ending. But it's real. And sometimes, that's enough. Here's what I learned: you can't force people to value you. You can't make them see what they refuse to see. But you can stop shrinking yourself to fit into spaces that were never built for you. You can walk away. You can build your own table. And you can decide every single day that you're worth more than the way they made you feel. I'm not proud of everything I did. I'm not proud that part of me wanted Jordan to suffer the way I suffered. But I am proud that I stood up. That I stopped waiting for permission to take up space. If you're struggling with family who doesn't see you, who doesn't celebrate you, who makes you feel like you have to earn love, please know this: you don't. You're enough. Right now. Exactly as you are. And the people who can't see that? That's their loss. Not yours. So if this story resonated with you, if you've ever been the overlooked one, the forgotten sibling, the person who had to fight for every scrap of recognition, leave me a comment. Tell me your story. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what's coming next. Because we all deserve to be seen. And I'm done pretending otherwise. My name is Angelica Bennett. And I'm the CEO of my own damn life.